Hey guys, it's Coach Matt with Lifelong Recovery. In this video, I want to talk about the hidden cost of addiction that nobody talks about. So in my last video, I asked a question: was alcohol or drugs helping you get through your work, or was it helping you tolerate a life that you weren't happy with? So this is a very deep question. You know, the thing about deep questions is they're uncomfortable. I have to really be willing to make a jump, a leap into the discomfort and sit with these uncomfortable emotions in order to process this. Because here's the thing, guys, if I've been struggling with addiction, I've probably created lots of denial, right? And there's really uncomfortable truths that may come to the forefront when I get into recovery. And honestly, those can feel dangerous because they bring up all these really negative feelings that I don't like and that I'm used to drinking or using in order to dissipate those feelings and remove myself from them. So this takes a lot of what I like to call a neutral-based thinking. So it's fucking radical acceptance, right? This is what has happened, right? This is what has gone on in my life, and there's nothing I can do. I can't change a single fucking second of what's happened in the past, right? I talked about this in previous videos. The only thing I can change is what I'm doing now and what potentially my future is going to look like. So it's kind of like developing this thick skin, right? I have to start becoming comfortable with letting go of the past, understanding that I made decisions, I made mistakes. There's all these things from my past that I'm not really happy with, but that's not going to fucking prevent me from living the future that I want. So very necessary question right there. Because if I never fucking ask that question, if I never dive into, what was going on in the past and what I was unhappy with, and I'm not going to be able to pull out from that core kernel of just what I want from my life, the things that I was missing from my life, the things that the addiction stole from me, so to speak. So I asked that question in the last video: was the alcohol or drugs helping me get through the work, or was it helping me tolerate a life? Was it helping me tolerate a life that I wasn't happy with? And I think the reason for that is because addiction does something that we almost never talk about. It doesn't just make you dependent on a substance. It slowly lowers the bar for what you're willing to accept from your own life. So there's a saying that I heard in 12-step meetings that I think is usually pretty accurate. So they said that most people adjust their behavior to reach their goals. Alcoholics and addicts adjust their goals to reach their behavior. So I'm slowly lowering the bar. And again, this can be really drastic or it can be a gradual process, right? Again, I think in my experience, this depends a lot of times on the propensity for the disease and the substance that the person is using. So again, the harder the substance, the quicker that process is going to be a lot of times, and just how functional people are in addiction. Some people, it strips them of everything very quickly. So it can depend on with different people. But the scary part is that a lot of people don't even realize that lowering of the bar is happening. So that was the case for me, I think, where I had convinced myself for years that because my drugs of choice, at the time I would have laughed at someone saying that phrase, drugs of choice, but because my drugs of choice at the time were what I considered to be innocuous, or just like basically they're on the very low level, right? So THC was my first drug of choice, my first love, I like to say, and then alcohol was my main addiction after that. So that bar was just slowly lowering the more that I was drinking or using. And I started my addiction in my teenage years. About 15 years old is when I started. By the time I was 15 years old, I was drinking or using something on a daily basis, right? So those years were slipping away what I thought was possible for my life. A lot of times I would just convince myself, oh no, this is just a phase that I'm going through. You're going to achieve the things that you really want to, but let's just not think about that now. Let's just get fucked up for the moment, right? And that's the uncomfortable truth. So again, a lot of people don't even realize these things that are being stripped away from me, these possibilities, these what I want for my life, what I find acceptable. It's just slowly going down. So what do I mean by lowering the bar? So nobody wakes up one day and just decides that they're going to settle for a job that they hate, that they're going to stay in unhealthy relationships, maybe even where there's abuse and things like that, where they stop believing in themselves and what is possible for them, stop chasing the life that they want. It happens gradually. It's one compromise, then another, and these just build to the point where a lot of times people don't even know who they are anymore. So addiction rarely changes your standards overnight. It lowers them one compromise at a time. Examples of this: I just need this job for now. And that becomes, this is probably all that I deserve or all I'm capable of. So the alcohol and the drugs aren't fixing my life, obviously, right? It's just making that life that I'm leading easier to tolerate, more acceptable for me. Examples of this, again, my work, feeling lonely, so isolating myself, drinking or using alone. Even maybe I have acquaintances that I drink or use with, but if I stop and actually dissect it, are they true friendships? Do these people actually give a shit about me? Do they care about me? Do they want the best for me? Dealing with anxiety, dealing with disappointment, getting through financial stress. Again, these tolerating unhealthy relationships, just thinking this is the best I deserve or this is the best I can do. So you don't have to build a better life when you're drinking or using because you're numbing the one you're already living. So again, it's just acceptable. So that's one of addiction's greatest tricks, in my opinion. So the questions start to change in my dependence, right? Before the dependence, a lot of times the questions are like, what do I want from life? What am I able to achieve? What excites me? What am I passionate about? What's possible for me? How do I become happy? Am I happy? Then during the addiction, the questions start to become, can I survive today? How do I get through work another day? How do I get to my next drink or drug, whatever it is? Can I just make it through the night, right? Literally, you're activating these survival instincts in your brain. It starts to strip us of the things around survival that make life pleasurable and worthwhile, and just becomes this very selfish, think about with the id, ego, and superego, if anyone knows about these from Freud. Id is basically, it's our most basic survival instincts, right? And then the ego is just this connection between my higher self and my most basic instincts. So it balances it out. And the superego is reaching that higher point for myself, what I really want for myself. But again, with addiction, a lot of times I'm living in that just most basic sense of surviving, just getting through the day. I'm not thinking about the person I want to become, the things I want to achieve, what I want for myself, who I am, what do I value, things like that. My values start to just slip through my fingers because the alcohol or the drugs starts to move up the list of my priorities, right? Maybe at one time my values were honesty, family, work, becoming successful, whatever it is, and the alcohol and the drugs start off down here, and then it just slowly starts to come up and rise the ranks to where, again, it's not that I don't care about those values, it's just they've moved way far down the list because the alcohol or drugs has bumped them down. So you stop asking what kind of life you want and start asking what you can tolerate. So shame lowers the bar even more. I've talked about this in previous videos. If you guys don't know the difference between shame and guilt, I like to say shame says I'm a shitty person. Guilt says I did a shitty thing. So guilt is not a bad thing because it's showing us that our actions don't align with our values, right? So it can serve a purpose. If I feel guilty about something, that means that whatever I did doesn't align with my values and I need to correct the behavior. So if I take the action, it's actually a good thing. But shame is the opposite. Shame just says, I'm a bad person, I'm a shitty person, I'm a piece of shit, right? And so it keeps me from achieving better things for myself. So shame says things like, I'm too old. I've ruined my life. I've ruined my chances. Nobody will hire me. I don't deserve better. This is just my life now. It creates these limiting beliefs for what's possible in my life. So it just holds me down. Shame is a very fucking destructive thing. It can literally ruin my fucking life and prevent me from having anything better. So I really need to be working on letting go of that shame and redirecting it to, it's not that I'm a bad person, it's not that I'm a piece of shit, but the choices that I made, the decisions I made that weren't all my fault. Remember, we have a biological propensity for addiction, right? Some people, it feels better to them, drinking and using feels better for them, so it makes them more likely to drink or use. But by the time I become addicted, it's really robbing me of making decisions with a healthy brain, right? So I've talked about this in previous videos too. You remember that accountability and grace are very important. Having both those things, being able to forgive myself, but also taking accountability for my action, right? So shame doesn't just make you feel bad, it convinces you to expect less for yourself. So again, this is where the limiting beliefs come from. And this is really fucking important, guys. It's not that those limiting beliefs are true. Anytime you realize you have a limiting belief, I can't do this, this is not available to me, I don't deserve all this shit, those are fucking limiting beliefs, and you need to understand that those aren't fucking true. It's literally a story that you're telling yourself that you've adapted to believe. And there's lots of different reasons for that. One of them could be because it's easier to settle, right? There's a saying, why risk failure when I can guarantee it? If I don't try, then I don't have to risk it, right? It's just keeping me in that place of comfort. So the shame doesn't make you feel bad, it convinces you to expect less. Shame repeats these limiting beliefs until they sound true. And I can tell you guys, when I say they sound true, separating yourself from the believing that they're true, in my experience, was really fucking hard. And it's still something that I work on to this day. But I literally believed that these things were true for me, these limiting beliefs that I don't deserve certain things. I don't deserve a healthy relationship. I don't deserve a decent job. I don't deserve happiness. It was something that even when people told me that they weren't true, I had a really fucking hard time believing. There was a part of me that said that these aren't true, right? But it felt like bullshit that I was just feeding myself. It's just like this line that I'm telling myself to try and overcome it. So I had told myself these things so many times that they became true for me. So separating that, is it actually true? What is true? Do I have proof of this? Right? Why is this true for me and not for other people? Why do I deserve pain and fucking just miserable things, unhappiness, not a good job, all these, but somebody else does? Why do I think other people are capable of these things, but I'm not? It's just fucking bullshit. It's just literally bullshit that goes through the brain and then we start to believe. So eventually these beliefs, they stop feeling like thoughts and they start feeling like facts. Huge point here. So I need to think about it of, is this actually true, or is it just something that I've been telling myself that I've now started to believe? So where's your bar now? In order to figure this out, you might want to slow down, ask yourself some important questions. What do I need from a relationship? What's the minimum I'm willing to accept from a relationship? What do I deserve? And think about this again. If you have trouble with this for yourself, think about your best friend, a family member, someone you love, someone you respect. what do you feel they deserve, right? And then try and apply that to yourself. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve honesty. But if you're not giving these things, then you probably don't fucking deserve them, honestly. So you got to make sure that you're giving these things and you're working on yourself in order to make sure that you can give these things in a relationship. What do I deserve from my health? What do I expect from my health? What do I expect from friendships? Someone cares about me, I care about them. Someone wants the best for me, I want the best for them. What do I deserve from work? Something that I enjoy doing. It's not going to be fucking perfect, of course, but is it something that I like? Is it something I'm passionate about? Is it something that I feel at least good about? It's not torture every day. And then what do I deserve from how the way people treat me? And I've talked about this before. The golden rule is huge here. It really is. It's become cliche at this point, but do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treating people the way that you want to be treated. But again, I've talked about this in a previous video. Don't forget that second part of that. How do you want to be treated? So there's two sides of the coin, right? I have to be treating people the way that I want to be treated, but also I have to demand that I'm being treated the way that I am treating them, right? Or that I know I should be treating people. So a lot of people don't realize that addiction has been answering these questions for years about what I think is acceptable for me and what I deserve. That's the part that I need to change. So now here's where the recovery piece comes in. So recovery raises that bar for me, right? This is where the hope comes in. People go from hopeless dope addicts to dopeless hope addicts, right? So it's not just about quitting the alcohol or the drugs. It's about learning to believe again what is possible, what do I deserve, all these things. And again, this is not going to happen overnight. Do not expect this to happen overnight. This is going to be a process. It's going to be a bumpy road. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to happen gradually, but you got to be committed to it. You got to be committed to this. What do I actually deserve, right? And think about this again. It's not just about you. What is everybody? What do you feel like somebody close to you, someone you respect, someone who you love, what do they deserve? Well, you deserve the same fucking thing. The things that you believe other people deserve in your life, you deserve the same things, right? Now, again, but I have to be flipping that and giving other people the things that they deserve. That's a huge component of recovery. I have to be, if probably in addiction, there's been a lot of dishonesty, there's been a lot of manipulating. So I have to make sure that I'm working on those things and not doing those if I want to expect it back from me, right? Karma, it kind of comes down to karma. So start asking yourself, what do I actually want? What kind of person do I want to become? What kind of life am I building? What kind of life do I want to build? Recovery doesn't guarantee you the life that you want, but it gives you permission to stop settling for the life that you don't want. So, what raising this bar actually looks like, it's usually small. We want to take small steps. A lot of times, addiction is a gradual process downwards. It's a slippery slope. Well, we want to start going back up, right? One small step at a time. What it can look like: having a difficult conversation, setting a boundary. It can be applying for an opportunity, asking for help from someone, taking care of your health better, believing that change is possible. So the bar doesn't rise in just one giant decision, right? You're not going to make this huge leap up, but it rises every time that you refuse to settle. One of the greatest gifts recovery ever gave me wasn't just sobriety. It gave me permission to expect more from my life. Those are two very different things, right? It's not because I became entitled. It's not because life suddenly became easy. It was because I stopped believing survival was the best that I could hope for. Hey, I can do things that are going to improve my life, and it's okay for me to expect a different outcome. So maybe recovery doesn't really begin when you stop drinking or using. It begins the moment that you stop settling. So guys, I hope this was helpful. If you felt like this was helpful for you, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. Drop a comment down below if there's any videos that you want to see. I do one-on-one recovery coaching if anybody is looking for some extra help. The link is in the description below if you could use some help or know someone who could. But guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.